Next up on the Cosmic News Network, the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw. Hello there, this is Lisbeth. You hired me to hack the internet to find the greatest deals on the net. My report shows that of the 36 billion sites scanned, Free in LA is the greatest deal because it is all free. Over 3,000 things to do free in LA. Let's meet there right now.
Hey there, boys and girls, children of all ages. It is time for what I like to consider the greatest show on Earth. That would be the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw. I am Dirk Bradshaw. And tonight, well, you know, I'm asked often, how is it that the government is able to manipulate and maintain all their secrets? And believe me, people, there are a lot of them. Not just the ones hidden up in Iron Mountain. There are tons and tons of things you should know about, but the government won't let you know about. So how do they get away with it? Well, we started bouncing around some ideas, looking around at some guests, and we think we found a pretty good guest who's going to inform you on how it is on the law and government secrecy. So every time you said there should be a law, well, guess what? There is. That is tonight on the Cosmic News. Stay tuned. You are definitely going to want to know this stuff.
Flying high above the planet Earth, this is the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw.
I think it's gonna be a long, long time. Touchdown brings me round again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh no, oh I'm a rocket man, rocket man. Came from outer space.
After becoming an attorney many years ago, I decided to, as dispassionately and as objectively as possible, apply the critical thinking I learned as a scientist and as an attorney to this issue of UFOs. I became very interested in seeing what evidence truly existed with regard to this subject and to determine how, if at all, the so-called government is able to keep these things secret, as has been posited. What I have found in my long and tedious journey is of the gravest and most serious nature. What I have found is that far from being a joke, this topic encompasses what may be the most profound revelation in human history. What I have also found is that the laws created to keep these and other matters completely hidden from the public have the gravest and most serious implications for the continued viability of our democracy, and I believe tread upon the Constitution to which I, as an attorney, have sworn an oath to protect. It is for this reason that I bring this information to you, to do with as you will. It is not my intention to convince you or anyone else that we are being visited by aliens. What I am here to convince you of is that the protections provided by our Constitution are under a great threat, and that threat comes from government secrecy imposed by the military-industrial complex. It is my opinion that although secrecy is necessary under certain limited circumstances, government secrecy in the way that it has been imposed by the National Security Act and by the manner in which that act has been interpreted is incompatible with a true democracy. Welcome to the Law of Government Secrecy, UFOs and the Need to Know. I'm Richard Beckwith. We all know the government keeps secrets. Even in a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, There are things the general public can't and shouldn't know when it comes to matters of national security. However, in a constitutional government like the United States, there has to be some specific legal authority that allows the government to keep things secret. This legal authority comes in the form of federal statutes and federal agency regulations designed to provide guidance to government officials and the public regarding what things should be kept secret and why. In this presentation, I'll be talking not only about this legal authority, but about some of the things the government keeps from us and why. Let's begin our discussion by talking about the legal framework for government secrecy.
The legal framework for government secrecy is provided by the Freedom of Information Act and its national security exemptions, the National Security Act, the Central Intelligence Agency Act, the National Security Agency Act, executive orders of the President, agency rules and regulations of the various agencies involved in the intelligence community, the state secrets privilege, and something else called privatization, which we'll talk about later but is outside the scope of this discussion. The Freedom of Information Act requires all government agencies to make their rules, opinions, orders, records, and proceedings available to the public. It requires that they publish the location where citizens can obtain information they request, statements of the general course and method by which its functions are channeled and determined, what their general procedures are, where their forms are, and they have to publish their substantive rules as well as amendment, revision, or repeal of any of these required publications. Nonetheless, as you can imagine, there are exceptions to the rule. The Freedom of Information Act does not apply to matters that are established by executive order to be kept secret in the interests of national security. Operational files of various member agencies of the intelligence community are also exempt from the Freedom of Information Act. The National Security Act was enacted in 1947 and amended by the Central Intelligence Agency Act of 1949 and the National Security Act of 1959, and has been amended many, many times since. The National Security Act places the Army, Navy, and Air Force under the umbrella of the newly created Department of Defense. It creates the National Security Council, the CIA, the NSA, the NIC, the DIA, and defines the responsibilities and authority of the Director of Central Intelligence. It also defines the authority of the Secretary of Defense, but more importantly, for purposes of our discussion, it authorizes contracts between the military and intelligence community and private contractors, and provides for the protection of information related to national security. Executive Order 12333, as amended by Executive Orders 13284 and 13355, defines the responsibilities, authority, and relationships between the various members of the intelligence community. This intelligence community includes agencies like the CIA, the NSA, the DIA, and the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, among many others. Now, let's look at the political and historical context of the National Security Act. Before, during, and after the war, fighter pilots from all sides experienced what came to be known as Foo Fighters. These were unidentified objects that ranged in size from a football to a football field that sometimes followed bombers and other aircraft and interfered with their flight systems. These objects were never explained, but they caused tremendous concern at the highest levels of command. America also developed the atomic bomb. World War II ended, and Americans and Russians began to acquire German technology and scientists. America did so through a project called Project Paperclip, and through that project we obtained such tremendous scientists as Wernher von Braun. It was also during this time that Kenneth Arnold had his sighting of objects near Mount Rainier in Washington. Roswell occurred. The Cold War began, as did the arms race. At that time, America began an unprecedented peacetime rearmament, and the military-industrial complex was born. Chillingly, President Eisenhower left us with a warning about the results of a military-industrial complex gone amok.
My fellow Americans, this evening I come to you with a message of leave-taking and farewell, and to share a few final thoughts with you, my countrymen. we have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
Oh, man, I can't believe it's over. Where does the time go? Well, I see the fat lady's off the stage. She's looking right at me. It's time for me to go put her to bed. I hate goodbyes. So instead I'm going to say, until we meet again, I'm Dirk Bradshaw for the Cosmic News. Wake up.